Hello, 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 and welcome to one of our very exciting new webinars that we are offering, masterclasses. So, the world is in a very interesting place at the moment. And one of the questions we should all be asking ourselves is, how do we protect our wealth? How do we grow our wealth? And how do we do it like the top 1%? Now, that's a question that should be going through all of your head because we live in this volatile world. And so the question is, what do we do about it? And what I'm going to share with you tonight is how you can reduce your risk by 80% and how you can increase your risk return ratio by a factor of 5. Now, where are you in the world? And do you want to reduce your risk by 80% and increase your risk return ratio by a factor of 5? Because that's what it's all about. We're going to be talking about financial freedom. We're going to be talking about a global citizen. We're going to be talking about wealth protection. And so let me know in the chat box, where are you coming from? Always fascinating to find out where people are coming from. Always like to know where you're coming from. And I want to take you on a journey. And this is my invitation for you to come on this journey with me. And the reason being is that we live in a hugely volatile world at the moment. And one of the challenges that we all have is, what do we do? What do we actually do with our wealth? How do we protect our wealth? And so that is why I wanted to share with you that in the last 2 weeks, I've literally flown overseas and spent time with some of the top investors in the world in America. I went to the Investor Summit 2025. It's been going for 23 years. And as you can see here, my mentor, one of my mentors, Robert Kiyosaki, was here. And I actually got to spend 9 days with him and ask him pretty much everything that I've ever wanted to know from Robert. What was also interesting is there were a number of other faculty members, incredible faculty members. And what I'm going to share with you tonight is the insights and the lessons. Now, it cost me $10,000 to be there. It took me 12 days by the time I've flown there, 9 days there, and flown home. And what I'm going to share with you tonight is the key insights so that you can take them away, you can execute, and you can get results for you and your family. Sound good? Okay, so let's rock and roll. Now, the very first question that we got asked in terms of when we arrived at the Investor Summit was, what is your biggest fear? What is the single biggest fear? And I'd love to know. Put it in the chat box. And if you're not prepared to share it publicly, write it down. But the question is, what is your single biggest fear? And we started off the entire summit with this question. What is people's biggest fear? Now, just to be clear, this was positioned at business owners, entrepreneurs, professionals, and investors. So if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, they're the same thing, but just in case people call themselves different things, an investor or a professional, then you're in the right place. And I can see there that Derek said, run out of money. So let's see what everyone else says. What's the single biggest fear? What's your single biggest fear? What do you think the single biggest fear is for others? And the research that came out across the Investor Summit and what they did to prepare for it was, what if I lose what I've worked so hard to build? What if I lose what I've worked so hard to build? Now, you've worked hard for your money. And the question a lot of people have is, how do I protect it? I mean, most people have never worked so hard in all their lives to make the money that they've got. And so now the question is, how do I protect it? And in this volatile world, how do I protect it? And that's what the essence of tonight is all about. That is what we are going to be going through tonight. Now, if we go into that in a little bit more detail, the top personal fears for investors right now are losing the money, so they can't afford to lose. Some of you have already said that. The next is not having enough to retire or stay financially free. Missing the boat on smart opportunities. Trusting the wrong people. And not knowing who to turn to for honest, proven guidance. Now, do me a favor. Just share with me in the chat if this makes sense to you. Share with me, just type it in the chat there, take a little bit of time, and let me know if these resonate with you and if they make sense to you in terms of that process. Okay, so I can see that a number of people are saying yes, absolutely, yes, fully, yes. Excellent. Well, now I just want to share something with you quickly. What is really important here is, just give me 2 seconds. So what's really important here is these are the biggest fears that people have. Now, on this webinar and on this masterclass, I'm going to share with you, by attending Wealth Going Global, I'm going to take you from feeling uncertain and overwhelmed about your financial future to having a clear, personalized roadmap. Sound good? Backed up by the same strategies, partners, and global opportunities used by the top 1%, so that you can protect your wealth, diversify, grow it sustainably, and finally achieve true financial freedom with confidence. Does that sound good? If that sounds good, then you're in the right place. Now, what I wanted to share with you before we go into these fears in a little bit more detail was, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm an investor just like you. That's why I went out to that program. I spent $10,000 to learn from literally the best so that I could enhance my own investment strategies and I can share them with you. So I'm going to be taking off my jersey because I don't believe, or my jacket, because I don't believe in the highfalutin, hoity-toity jackets and ties. And tonight's all about wealth going global. If you want your wealth to go global, then you're in the right place. If you want to protect your wealth, if you want to diversify your wealth, if you want to grow it sustainably, and if you want to achieve financial freedom with confidence, then you're in the right place. So let's rock and roll. Audio is much softer now. Interesting. Okay, so let's rock and roll. Billy says, be careful, I'm a suit guy. You are very much so, Billy. All good. So let's look at the first one. Lose money they can't afford to lose. They fear of the market crashes, bad investments, scams wiping out their savings or their retirement. And it's interesting because there's a gentleman I met over a decade ago called Manu. And Manu was a successful real estate investor and in South Africa, but he wanted to go internationally because he was worried about the volatility in the local market. And when he did, he was actually defrauded over $250,000. So this is the exact fear that people are actually talking about and that they are worrying about. He then came across us and he really enjoyed the values, the trust, the transparency, the technology, so that he could facilitate and democratize access to being able to invest in real estate globally. So this is a good example of what's possible. On the one hand, you've got the fear of losing money, and it happens all the time. People lose money. And then on the other hand, actually being able to invest like the top 1% and allowing your wealth to go global. So for me, what that represents, and when you see this blue page, I strongly recommend that you take out your pen and paper and you literally write this down. Because if you want peace of mind, then you're in the right place. Because what does it represent? It represents peace of mind. The next fear that people have is not having enough to retire or stay financially free. Now, this is a really important one, because when you go into this in more detail, even successful people worry that their money won't last, especially with inflation, taxes, and a longer life expectancy. Let's go into this in a little bit more detail. So at my mastermind, I went through this month. The 100-year life, rethinking wealth, risk and returns in the age of longevity. Now, do you know that every generation tends to live somewhere between 6 to 9 years longer, and that the millennials, more than 50% of them will reach to live over 100? But what's really interesting is we've got the old economy. So this is where we went to school and university and we got educated. We then worked, often one job for life, and we kind of saved for retirement. And then we retired around 65. And we kind of hoped that, statistically we would live till 75. And we kind of hoped that our money wouldn't run out. So there were 3 phases in life: learn, work, and retire. Now, I want to start with a personal story here. So this is someone who's quite close to my family. And the gentleman's an optometrist. And he did exactly this. He went to school, he studied to become an optometrist, someone that does eyes, and he worked his whole career, 40 odd years. He invested, he paid towards his retirement, and now he's 82 and he's living his retirement. He's very happy. In fact, for you golfers, he's trying to beat his age, which is a big thing in golf. And so he's healthy. But I sat down with him at Christmas last year, and he was really honest and quite vulnerable with me. And he said, Scott, I'm really worried because I'm healthy, and that's a great thing. But I think I'm going to outlive my money. And from someone that's an optometrist, a professional, a doctor, to really have to clamp down, to not be able to go on holidays, to not be able to afford things, that for me is the epitome of what we call financially trapped. And that's the old economy, because the financial system's been built for the old economy. Now, what is the new economy? Well, the new economy is different. The new economy, your lifespan is 90 years plus, often, soon going to be 100 years plus. And in this stage, you learn and you educate and you engage. So you learn while doing. You invest, grow, and protect your wealth, and you recondition. So what does that mean? Well, I went out and I started learning about residential houses, and I bought a whole bunch of residential houses. And then I made a whole bunch of mistakes, and you kind of go back down here and you have to learn again. And then I realized how to do it better. And then we had the crash of 2008, and I kind of went, whoa, all the way back down here. And I realized, hang on, actually residential houses aren't the best investments. I tell you what, I need to get into commercial property. And then I had the steep learning curve of getting into commercial property and investing in different commercial properties. Firstly, it was medical, then different types of commercial property. And then we had another challenge where we learned, okay, hang on, you can't just be in one asset class. So now we went into other alternative assets and we learned again. And what's interesting is that all the way through you're learning, all the way through you're investing, all the way through you're earning, all the way through you're reconditioning and improving, but you're learning while doing. And if you take the rest of my life, I'm sure there's going to be many, many more learning curves along the way, many more adjustments, many more investments, many more potential ways to earn. And so what's interesting is that you have a lifetime of continuous wealth, learning, earning, and growth. And so that's the old economy. And like I said to you, the financial system has been built for the old economy. And this is the new economy. And my question is your plan, is your wealth plan built for the new economy? Your plan over the next 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, do you have a plan that's built for the new economy? Are you investing, learning, engaging in this way? It's important now. So let's talk this through a little bit. So you've got the old economy on the left, and you've got the new economy on the right. On the left, you had a job for life, and now you've got a life full of jobs. On the left, you had one income stream. On the right, you got multiple income streams. On the left, you worked for money. On the right, your money works for you. On the left, you retire at 65 and hope you die before you run out of money. On the right, you build wealth that lasts 100 years, legacy. On the left, you define benefit pension. On the right, self-funded financial freedom. On the left, local currency. On the right, global currencies. On the left, local investments. On the right, diversified global assets. On the left, you save for retirement. On the right, you build passive income now. On the left, you deal with traditional financial advisors who, I'm going to share this more with you, but they basically do 1 out of 9 steps to generational wealth. On the right, you have a full spectrum family office that's looking after you from beginning to end. On the left, financial literacy was optional. On the right, financial education is essential. And on the left, you defer your dreams. You wait for retirement. And on the right, you design your life on your terms. So my question to you, if you're honest with yourself, and if you look at a scorecard of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, do me a little favor and take out and just give yourself a score. What are you scoring on the old economy versus the new economy? How many of you can say that you've got 11 out of 11 on the new economy? And whether we like it or not, the world is changing. We have to adapt. It's coming at us like a tsunami. We can either learn to surf or we're going to drown. And that's why wealth going global is so essential. Because everything that we are building and everything that I'm sharing tonight is about the new economy so that you can thrive, not just survive. And there's some countries where there's another thing that is eroding your wealth, and that's currency devaluation. You know, I met a doctor in Johannesburg in South Africa. His financial advisor told him to pay off his house as soon as possible. And what's interesting is when you take the rand to the US dollar over the last 40 years, it's devalued by 6% year on year, every single year on average. So you're investing in one asset that's holding its value, and you're investing in another asset that's losing its value by 6% a year, every year, and has done for 40 years. And then a lot of people go and buy investment property, particularly new developments, that not only cost them money out of their pocket, but it's also in a devaluating currency. One of the best things I ever did in my life, one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, at 21, I went to London and I started earning pounds, literally at the age of 21. And my strong recommendation to you is that some people will sit and they say, oh, well, you know, I'm wealthy, I'm financially free, I'm independent. And I often say, well, if that's in the third world economy, maybe you're a goldfish in a fairly small fish tank. Because how is your wealth when you take it from a global citizen perspective, when you divide it by 18 or 20 or 24? And this starts to get really real. And this is why things like wealth going global are so imperative, no matter where you live in the world in terms of that process. I talk a lot about this in Wealth Going Global, and we're going to go into this in more detail, but it's called the Global Wealth Index. And effectively, it's a way to look at your buying power as a global citizen. And as a South African, and by the way, I can do this in every country and currency around the world, but as a South African, the buying power has devalued by 92% over the last 40 years. 92%. And right now in America, the US dollar is expected to come down against the pound and the euro. So again, the buying power becomes really important as a global citizen in terms of, you know, where you're investing and why your wealth going global becomes so important. And I want to share a story with you. You know, I met an entrepreneur and a businessman back in 2013, February 2013, and he came on a buyer's trip with us. He jumped on an airplane, flew over to America. He had a business in Durban, South Africa, and he was wanting his wealth to go global. He was really struggling. He'd been to all the different talks and the seminars. He'd been to all the financial advisors that stuck him in cookie cutter solutions. He didn't like what he was being given. He didn't trust the people. So he decided to come on a trip. And he came to America. He wanted to get the right information. He wanted to meet the right partners. And on the ground, you know, he told me categorically, I don't trust you. But by spending time with us and coming on the trip and meeting partners, he got to meet them and to build that trust. And I remember asking him, you know, how much passive income do you have? And he was like, he kind of looked at me a bit squarely. He said, I don't really have any. In fact, I don't even know how much it is. I said, well, how much do you want? And he said, well, I'm clear. It's a number. I'm not going to give away the number. And he goes, and I'm like, why? And he goes, he's very clear on his why. He's got 2 daughters, they're teenagers, and I want them to be able to go to university overseas, and I want them to be able to work overseas wherever they want. Well, you know, fast forward the story 10 years ago, and Michael and his wife, Lee, have put their daughters through university in England. Their daughters now live in England. They've actually immigrated to England. And for me, that is why it is so important, because if you haven't started letting your wealth go global, there's no such thing as a get-rich-quick scheme. But if you want to do it in 10 years, you have to start today. And what Michael said when I joined, it was the best money I ever spent, and it would never have happened if I tried to do it myself. So I wanted you to write down the word freedom, because how important is freedom to you? Freedom of choice, freedom to where you send your children to university or school, or where you live, or who you work for, or where you go on holiday, or who you donate your money to in the church. You know, freedom. The third one is missing the boat on smart opportunities. They fear being left behind while others are building wealth through AI, crypto, real estate, or global investments. And it's quite interesting because when you look at these 2 options, which one are you? Option 1, where at the bottom here, you got time, you got inflation, and you got value. And you go and see your financial advisor and they keep giving you statements. And every year you go up marginally, but you barely beat inflation. And quite frankly, you're not very impressed. But you don't really know what else to do because everyone else is complaining. It's kind of a bit like the banking system. It doesn't really make much difference who you deal with. And so you're stuck in this environment where option one, you're just getting the bland products. You're just investing, kind of put your money where you're told to, and every year it goes up marginally. The fees erode quite a lot of it, and you're lucky if you're just beating inflation. And option two is where you've got value and you've got time and you've got inflation, but you've got growth on top of growth. You've got compounding growth in terms of that process. Now let's look at some examples of this. So the average investor who's trying to do it themselves, according to JP Morgan. So the stock market, the S&P 500, the American stock market, has got a return of 9.5% a year on average for the last 20 plus years. When an investor tries to do it themselves, the average is 3.6%. That's option one, flat growth. Flat growth. What about this? If you go to your financial advisor, so I know this graph is quite complicated, but at the bottom here, you got risk. You got low risk and you got high risk. And on this side, you've got low returns and high returns. So you want to be in this top left corner where you got high returns, low risk. The problem is that the average person who has a portfolio organized by their financial advisor has 30% in bonds and 70% in stocks, no private equity. They are in the lowest return, highest risk category. And if they were just to add 20% in private equity, they would get into the highest return, lowest risk category. That's the difference between option one and option two. When you look at private equity, which is in the light blue, compared to the stock market, which is in the dark blue, over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years, private equity has outperformed the stock market. And the question is, are you investing in private equity? Because the top 1% are. And so which option are you going with? Are you going with option one, flat growth? Just marginally improving every year? Your money not working very hard for you? Or are you going for option two, where your money is working hard for you? It's optimal. It's getting you the best returns it can in the safest possible way. Do me a favor. Put in the chat box. Which one is it? Option one or option two? Or more importantly, which one do you want?
I've been a dentist for 47 years. I've just retired. And so I'm learning my new career path.
Just going to make sure that I'm sharing my sound here. Let me share my sound. Let me share with you someone who shares their story about what I'm talking about.
I've been a dentist for 47 years. I've just retired. And so I'm learning my new career path, which is very exciting. There's some incredible people on board. There really are. So I'm learning a lot. And in terms of learning, it's showing me a completely new path that I didn't even know existed. So it's been exciting. It really has, yeah. My financial advisor, who I think is very good, he's been with me 15 years and he's always looked after me. And I don't think he is a typical financial advisor because he runs his own portfolio. But it was typically that. I didn't understand what he was talking about when I went in there. He could say, well, I'm going to put this and do that and buy that and change this. I didn't know what he was doing. Now, all of a sudden, I understand what he's saying. I understand where we're going, and I can actually ask questions and say, no, I don't agree with that. Whereas before, I just listened and signed the paper. That was it. Now I feel that I'm in control. I really feel I'm in control of my financial future. And that gives me a lot of confidence going forward. And I'm trying to get my kids involved. My son-in-law wants to start a new business, and there's just so much now that I can impart my knowledge to them and feel confident with what I'm saying, not just saying it for the sake of saying it. I really feel I can help them on their journey to financial wealth now. That to me is probably one of the biggest spin-offs of joining you guys.
The word is that I want you to write down is control. How many of you would like to be in control of your financial future? How many of you feel like you're sitting in the driver's seat And you're in control of your financial future. And even when you talk to your financial advisor, you know what to ask them, you know how to ask the right questions. You can at least partner with them to debate whether it's a good investment or not. And if you don't feel like that, well, today's the decision to make a decision for your wealth to go global and to get the information and to get the partners so that you can get in control. And that's why I wanted you to write down the word control. Right. The fourth one is trusting the wrong people. Many have been burned by advisors, funds, or deals that looked too good on paper but ended badly. So interesting enough, I was talking to someone just yesterday. One of the big famous financial advisors has been advising them to invest in this property development company in England. And, everyone's lost their money now. And what's so interesting is that two things. Firstly, you shouldn't put all your money in one investment because you got all your eggs in one basket. And secondly, the fees that they were being paid was more than 10%. So clearly the advisors are going to be incentivized to sell that product because it's a very good commission based in terms of that process. So the question I always have for people is you shouldn't be investing in assets. You should have a plan. And so do you go out and do you choose your assets first, or do you create a plan first and then make your assets fit your plan? Because if you do the former one, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to be like these people that make mistakes, and we all make mistakes, by the way. There's no perfect guarantee investment. I've made mistakes as well. But the point being is that if you lead with assets, then you're going to make mistakes. But if you lead with a plan, then the assets fit the plan. And the plan even takes into account the fact that there will be mistakes made along the way. The challenge is that this framework, these 9 steps, are the 9 steps to generational wealth. Now, we work with our family office. So a family office looks after the wealthiest families in the world. They've been around for centuries, and they're basically set up to look after the wealthiest families in the world. Normally, you need tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. In Switzerland, as an example, you need $250 million or more to have a family office. So they weren't available to the majority of us. And what's so interesting is we've been working with the family office for 12 years, and we've mapped out what they do. They've got 65 families, and we've mapped out what they do in terms of how they look after their families. And there are 9 steps to generational wealth. So generational wealth is not just like how you buy an asset. It's how do you protect your money? How do you set yourself up for success? How do you not only take your current money and make it work for you, but how do you optimize it? How do you get your tax and structuring right? How do you diversify? How do you start to create generational wealth, not just for you, but for your children? How do you leave a legacy? And that's what it's all about. And the really sad thing is that the majority of people go to financial advisors and they offer them 1 out of the 9 steps. 1 out of the 9 steps. And so whether you like me or not, my strong recommendation is you take a picture of this, and the next time you sit down with your financial advisor, you make sure that they're doing this for you. And if they're not, make sure that you find a team that is helping your wealth go global and is partnering with you to make this a reality. Because our team and our family office sits down and they have a personalized approach. They don't sit down and say, hey, what's this asset? Do you want to buy it? Yes or no? Or even peddle you an asset and say, buy this asset behind the scenes because it's got good fees. They sit down, and the first thing they do is they understand your individual circumstances. Who are you as a person? Who are you and your family? What are your needs? Oh, I want to immigrate to Portugal, whatever. What are your needs? Then they go into the Enneagram profile. So the Enneagram is the oldest profiling system in the world. They've married it together with wealth. So now they know exactly what is your investor type. Who are you? Now, there's no right and there's no wrong, but who are you as an individual? How do you make decisions? What are the right investments for you based on the profile and the person you are? We're all different, by the way. And so we need to know who we are so we can make a personalized plan for someone. And then we got the asset liability model, and that's a plan. And you bring it all together and you got portfolio construction. And so how many of you sit with a plan from now until you're 100 that takes into account the different stages of your life, that allows for risk, that allows for growth, that allows you to protect your wealth? But also, most importantly, when I spoke about the assets up front and where people are worried because they're going to get the wrong advice, the assets fit the plan. And then every year, or even better, every quarter, but certainly every year, you check in with your plan, and the assets are the vehicles on the plan, but the plan is what you need. And if you don't have a plan, don't worry. I'm going to share with you Wealth Going Global and how you can get a personalized plan for you and your family. So Niels came to us with his wife, Catherine. They had a couple of properties around the world. They had investments, they had stocks, they had, been to a whole bunch of different financial advisors. It was chaotic. It was overwhelming. He couldn't speak the language of investing. And he said, by learning the language of investing, it became so liberating. And this is what he had to say about his experience.
Definitely, Scott. I mean, it is so stressful not to know where to go, to have financial partners and advice. I mean, just the connections that you gave us with Calio and others, bring us in contact with these people to understand it. It makes a world of a difference. It takes a lot of stress off your shoulders. Actually, a very positive experience, especially in the world now with all these uncertainties. But from a human side, I mean, this was a phenomenal experience. And it happened so fast for us. But we were ready for it because we've been sitting on this for 1.5 years, just frustrated, don't know what to do. But I believe, going forward, it's going to work out. Whatever is going to happen on the financial side, I feel that we have proper partners in you and in the mastermind and with Calio. It's a very positive experience. It's a positive, relaxing feel.
So the word I want for you is clarity. How many of you would like clarity? How many of you would like to know, someone brings you a deal in London, hey, is this a good deal or not? Rather than just, I'm not sure. Clarity. I got a plan. Does this fit into my first bucket, my second bucket, or my third bucket? I'm not going to go into all the details of that. But do you have a resilient plan from now until you're 100 to make sure that your assets actually enable your lifestyle? That's the word I want for you, clarity. So make sure that you take out your pen and you write down the word clarity, because that's what Wealth Going Global is all about. It's about giving you that clarity. The final thing that people are nervous about is not knowing who to turn to for honest, proven guidance. There's too much noise. They're afraid of making the wrong move or in a confusing market. I mean, any of us can go on TikTok or YouTube, or there's a million influencers who are very smart and tell everyone what to do. And some people say the market's going to crash. Some people say buy Bitcoin. Some people say buy whatever gold. Some people say buy the stock market. Some people say sell the stock market. Some people buy property, etc., etc., etc. There's a lot of noise and it's very confusing. And for most business owners, professionals, and investors, they don't have the time to go and get the right information from the right partners.
I'm living in a foreign country.
Someone like Cynthia cut through that noise. And what was so interesting is because for 4 years, she found herself in this situation where she was analysis paralysis, overwhelmed, going to courses, reading books, talking to financial advisors, but they're all giving her the same cookie cutter solution. How many of you resonate with that? And this is what her experience was when she decided it was time for her wealth to go global.
I'm living in a foreign country. I can't go back into my old career, which was China media, because I'm living in Italy. I had 3 kids to feed. I'd left my husband. And I was like, where's my skill set? So I was actually at the stage of like, just how do you put food on the table? And it was the first time it hit me that I was working for money, selling my time for my hours for time, and that my money wasn't working for me. And I was in that frozen position of like, what do I do with it? Like, I need this money to work for me because I'm over here scrambling to find a job and to put food on the table for the kids. I was really at that paralyzed, what do I do? What do I invest in? I was at that age where I felt like I don't have another, ride it out 20 years and the stock market always rebounds. I don't have another 20 years to ride it out. What are your needs? What's your financial situation? And I pulled up that matured fund that I had and said, I need to invest this, but I can't invest it for the long term. Here are my needs. I have immediate goals. I have 3 children that have just gone off to college. So I suddenly have immediate financial goals that I'm not going to be able to meet if I keep just relying on my income or selling time for money. And they listened. They asked really smart, relevant questions I wouldn't have thought of, but they were particular to me. And I didn't feel like I was being put into a box of you're this type of investor, or you're this type of investor, or you're this type, And it wasn't just the like, are you high risk? Are you low risk? It was really they really tried to understand my needs. And within 24 hours, They had a proposal to me, but here's what we're going to do to solve your immediate problem. And within 1 month, I had income coming in from an investment from them, which just liberated me. I mean, it was just the buffer I needed to not panic about money anymore, and to make the rest of the decisions slowly and, you know, from a different mindset.
You know, 30 days from now, you too could be getting the right information, getting the right partners. What difference would it make for you? So take out your pen, 30 days. Because that's what it can take. That's the transformation you can go through, to be sitting, wondering, worrying, anxious, to actually, nope, I'm getting the right information, got the right partners, I've got a plan. That's how fast it can happen. So my final question to you is, do you want to be financially free? And some people turn to me and, you know, it's a very negative word now. You can't even use it on Facebook and the likes because it's so overused. So I just want to be very clear. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme, but people do ask me all the time and they say, what does that actually mean? And I think as a global citizen, you need to earn a certain amount of passive income globally. So it's diversified passive income. And your costs, your living costs, your globally diversified passive income needs to be more than your costs. Okay, now how do you get that globally diversified passive income? Well, you get that from assets. And those assets pay you a first world income, which gives you a globally diversified passive income. And as long as that's more than your costs, then you are financially free. Make sense? So you got assets paying you globally diversified passive income. And as long as that's more than your costs, wherever you choose to live, then you are financially free. So what's interesting is that, you know, some people might be financially free in their local currency, but then they divide by 18, 20, 24, and they're far from financially free, which is why I always say as a global citizen, and why wealth going global is so important, is you've got to make sure that your passive income is globally diversified passive income. And this is where you decide to change your job, which is paying, you know, where you're working for money, to where your assets are working for you and your money's working for you. And I had a really interesting story. I know there's a couple of mastermind members online, and I asked for her permission, but just last week I was in one of my one-to-one coaching sessions, and a lovely lady, English lady based out of Spain, literally had her meeting with our family office. She's part of our mastermind, and they went through her plan. And, you know, for many, many years, she's been working for money and had anxiety and how do you make more money and everything in between. And, you know, that whole, how do you get through the month? And when she sat down with the family office and they went through her assets, and they actually showed her that her assets were now producing a passive income, which was higher than her living expense, and she was free. She was financially free. And you don't need huge amounts of money to make it happen. And I believe that you can do it as well. And so it was so exciting when Marina shared that with me, because that truly is my purpose and my passion. And as a team, our purpose is to help you invest like the top 1%, because that's how the top 1% invest. They have assets. Those assets earn them a passive income, a globally diversified passive income, and that passive income is more than their costs. And because of that, they are free. Does that make sense? Do me a favor and type in the chat box if this is making sense to you, because this is what tonight is all about. Wherever you are in the world, whatever time zone you're in, it's to help you invest like the top 1%. Now, I want to share a little story. And, you know, this is an interesting story. It's my own personal story. Many of you have heard it before. And so I'll go through it very quickly. But this is my personal story of how I went on this journey. And it all started with a book that many of you have heard before called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And what was so interesting is that I was given this book on the 9th of February, 2001. It was my birthday. And my mom and dad gave it to me. I was very unhappy. I was in London. And they said, we hope you make your fortune. But more importantly, we hope you have good health, many friends, and lots of happiness, lots of love, mom and dad. And what was interesting to me is that, you know, I started out in the employee quadrant. So what do the employees do? Well, they go out and work. They work for a job. And I was a laborer on a construction site. I was getting £5 an hour. It was we were used to pour concrete basically. Now I figured out at quite a young age that I didn't want to be an employee. And the reason being was because of my dad. Because my dad did what you were all taught to do. He went to school, he went to university. By the way, I was taught to this as well. Went to school, went to university, got a great job or got a great degree, became a chartered accountant, got a great job, became financial director of a listed company for those in South Africa, Rainbow Chickens. He invested, he trusted the financial industry. And when he died broke at 59. And I was disgusted. I was like, this is ridiculous. And when I went and did the research, at the age of 65, again, the old economy, at the age of 65, 94% of people will be like my dad, dead, broke, or reliant on the government. 5% of people will be what's called financially independent. And that's where they, according to the financial industry, they earn 25% less than their last paycheck, which just means they're financially trapped, just like the optometrist. So that's 99%, which basically means only 1% of people at the age of 65 retire wealthy. And the question I have for you in the new economy is, do you have a plan to be part of that top 1%? And that's what Wealth Going Global is all about. Well, I decided at a very young age, I didn't want to be an employee. I started doing property when I was 13 years old. I did my first property development when I was 22, my first London property when I was 24. And at 25, I resigned and started my own business. And I helped thousands of people buy houses in South Africa, hundreds in the UK, hundreds in Australia, and hundreds in America. And what was interesting is that it was a small business that evolved into a big business, which is the B. And by the way, the S's are the doctors, the lawyers, the accountants, they're all the professionals. And the B is where you've got a bigger business. But to go to that next level, I had to invest myself. So I spent $8,000 going and spending a week with Dr. Dolph DeRoos. He wrote this book, Real Estate Riches, which was one of my first property books. You'll notice always that whenever I want to learn and grow, I invest in myself. I think it's the simplest, quickest, safest way to get ahead in life is to invest in yourself. So I went to America, and that's where I learned that actually residentially around the world, it was all the same problems. Whether people, who lived in England or Australia or America or South Africa, it was the same thing. They were stuck in country. They were in residential. They couldn't get into commercial or international. And there was huge complexity when it came to tax and structuring. And effectively, the 99% could not invest like the top 1%. That's it in simple terms. So when this stark reality came about was in 2008, 2009, we had the global financial crash, and there was a real opportunity. I could buy this building, 48 units, the entire building off Barrett Homes. And I sent a letter out to my investors. I had 2,500 investors. I said, I don't care what happens to, the market in the short term. This is a real opportunity. And we were buying it at a 40% discount, fully furnished, fully tenanted. Anyway, long story short, in those days, I couldn't get people to think like the top 1%. I didn't have a platform to help bring them together, and we failed. The reason we failed was because we needed $10 million and we couldn't execute on the deal. If I'd done that deal, we would have turned $10 million into $30 million, pounds, 30 million pounds. And we would have to date earned £4.5 million in positive net cash flow. That's how the top 1% think. That's how the top 1% invest. And that's what Wealth Going Global is all about. I was so pissed off by that story that I decided to invest in myself again. I spent $50,000 this time, and I went and spent a week with Tony Robbins in Fiji, at his resort in Fiji. I did business mastery because I wanted to learn the principle of how I can go to the next level and how I can invest like the top 1%. And I had the privilege of going into business with Tony Robbins. Not many people in the world can say that. And I learned that the fastest way to success is to copy a successful person. The fastest way to wealth is to copy a wealthy person. And then I learned there's a level even above that, which is partnership. You don't even have to figure it all out yourself. You can partner with people that have already been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So in 2014, we did our first medical building. It was a $16 million building, $16 million portfolio, six buildings. And what was so interesting is that we owned them for 5 years. We then sold them on to a big property fund, and we earned an 8% net cash on cash return. per year and a total return of 15%. And these are the type of returns that the top 1% earn. This is what Wealth Going Global is all about. And so we went on to do that in America, England, Europe, Australia, South Africa. We've helped people in 178 countries, facilitated $1.3 billion in deals, paid out over $31 million in dividends and distributions and exits. How much of that's ended up in your bank account? And if not, why not? Because there's no better day like today to get started. It's time for your wealth to go global. But from the B quadrant, I finally realized I'd made it to the I quadrant. And it was actually this year in February. I was in London. It was literally at the same time as my birthday. And it's the tallest residential tower in London with the largest penthouse in Europe. And that day I went down the lift, and it was a freezing day. It was windy and it was horrible and it was cold. And I walked across to the tube station. I was meeting my investors there. And across the road, I noticed a construction site. And blow me down, it was the same company that I used to work for, O'Shea's. And as usual, they were pouring concrete. And I just thought to myself, you know, if I hadn't have read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and if I hadn't been willing to take a chance, to take a risk, I would probably be on that site still, pouring concrete. I might be site manager, but who cares? Because that day, I met my investors. We went into that building. We went up the lift of the tallest tower in London to the biggest penthouse in Europe. And along with 20 investors, we sat negotiating with the developer to own a piece of that building. And that was the day that I realized that I had made it to the investor quadrant, where my money was actually working for me. And the best part was that by helping others make their money work for them, we were doing it together. We were investing like the top 1%. We were partnering with the top 1%. And we were investing in the same type of assets as the top 1% and earning the same type of returns. So the question is, if you know anything about Robert Kiyosaki, whether you're in the employee quadrant, the self-employed quadrant, the business owner quadrant, it's all about making your money work for you. And, you know, as Warren Buffett said, if you don't find a way to make your money while you sleep, you're going to work for the rest of your life. And I'm sure most of you here don't want to work until you're 100. You've worked hard for your money. Now it's time for your money to work for you. And so to take that story a step further, I was on stage in May this year, and I got to meet my mentor, Robert Kiyosaki, personally, and I actually shared with him my book, Property Going Global. And this was me on stage, thanking him for the massive impact that his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad's, had on me and so many thousands of investors from all over the world. And he called me up and personally invited me to his investor summit, which is like an inner circle for some of the top investors in the world. And so it was a lot of money. I had to invest $10,000 to go to this. But for $10,000, I got to spend 9 days with some of the most incredible investors and to learn from the best in the world, right at the coalface. And I love the thing, proximity is power. I mean, how many of you would agree proximity is power? I mean, how much would you pay to spend time with Robert Kiyosaki and other incredible investors for 9 days? So I invested $10,000 in myself. And like I said to you, I find that that's the quickest, simplest, safest way to get results in terms of that process. And just to give you some interesting information, most of you know Robert Kiyosaki. He's concerned about the future of where the world is going. He thinks the baby boom generation is going to get wiped out by inflation, and specifically because the stock market's going to crash, and the bond market at the moment is in free fall. And because of that, what's going to happen in the stock market? And it's really important to make sure you're prepared. There was another gentleman called Peter Schiff, and this guy here actually predicted the crash in 2008. He flew in his private jet, by the way. And what was really interesting with him is he said, you know, be really, really, really worried about where the world's going. He sees it having a big economic challenge in Trump's reign. And the single most important thing you can do, he gave us the single most important piece of advice, George Gammon, also an incredible investor. He also spoke about what's happening in the world and the massive impact on the trade tariffs and interest rates and what's happening with America's debt crisis. Mike Maloney, who wrote this book here, Gold and Silver, the single most read book in the world on precious metals. He's actually studied the history of money for over 2,500 years. And he spoke about where America was going with the reserve currency, gold, silver, cryptocurrency, what is the future currency, etc. Steve Streetman spoke about crypto and real estate. And we had Ken McElroy, that is Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad advisor on real estate. And what was interesting, I mean, he's aiming to do $1 billion worth of real estate investments this year. He's done 500 million. And he shared with us what's happening in the real estate market. Now, I don't have time to go into this in detail tonight. That's not the purpose. Wealth Going Global, I will go through when I run through Wealth Going Global extensively, because what I did is while I was doing this event, I have my workbook here with all of my notes. I also have my iPad where I recorded every single session. So there were 40 sessions that literally took place. And I recorded every single one of those sessions. So I have all the feedback and all the understanding from the best investors in the world and the people that are managing a lot of money in terms of that process. And what I'm going to do when we go on the Wealth Going Global journey is I'm going to share it with you each stage of the way so that you've got the latest, most up-to-date information. You don't need to spend $10,000 to be there, and you don't need to take 12 days out of your life. But what is important is that I was there so that I could gather this information and I could be at the front of the spear, the sharp end of the spear. And the single most important component that I took away from that entire event was diversification. The advice that everyone had was that you had to diversify, because that is what equals financial success. Now, I've done my thesis on diversification for the last nearly 20 years. And it's interesting because my book came out first in 2013, and it was endorsed by Clem Sunter. And this was all about how to invest around the world: England, Australia, America, South Africa, and 16 other countries. And it was forwarded by this Nelson Mandela, Won't Create Success, the Freedom to Make It Will. One of my good friends, James Painter, wrote chapter 2 in terms of currency and how do you choose the right currencies. And on top of that, Clem Sunter contributed chapters 4 and 5 around how do you choose the right countries and how do you use the right scenarios. And fast forward 10 years later, we upgraded that with Wealth Going Global, which was a digital course, because we decided that not many people go out anymore and read a book. The way to learn now is to do a digital course live and to go through each module with action items and to get results. So this is not about theory. This is about results. And so I'm going to share with you later Wealth Going Global and how you can participate in it. But before I do, the essence of Wealth Going Global is to teach you how to diversify and to teach you how to invest like the top 1%. And I want to just share with you why it is so important before I show you how. When you finish the course, you're going to have your own personalized wealth plan, and you're going to have your own investor strategy sheet. And every single thing is going to be on one page. So I'll share with you how you can have your own personalized plan. And this truly is all about your Wealth Going Global. So I'm not going to be giving you financial advice now, but I want to do a quick run through on why diversification is so important for you as an investor and how you can invest like the top 1% and ensure that your wealth is going global. So the first thing, Ray Dalio, the single most important component to financial success is diversification. You have to diversify across assets, within assets, across markets and currencies, and across time. And when Tony Robbins wrote a book, Ray Dalio was 75 years old, and he said, listen, you've made hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. Share with us your secret formula. And this is the formula. And in simple terms, what this formula is saying is you need 15 quality assets that are not tied together. 15 quality assets that are not tied together. That's all it's saying. And if you do that, you're going to reduce your risk by 80%, and you're going to increase your risk return ratio by a factor of 5. That's what it's saying. And Wealth Going Global is all about teaching you how to reduce your risk by 80% and increase your risk return ratio by a factor of 5, and helping you find what are those top 15 assets. This is what Ray Dalio had to say when he was interviewed at a TED Talk.
So what the individual investor needs to do is know how to diversify well. So the word that I would know how to diversify well and in a balanced way, to diversify it in asset classes, to diversify it in countries, to diversify it in currencies, to know how to diversify that well so that you have wealth diversification is important. Do not think that cash is a safe investment. Cash is almost always the worst investment. So you have to think about that. You should think a little bit unconventionally. Diversify well, be humble, don't market time, and be conscious of the dangers of cash.
So you need to know how to diversify. You need to know how to diversify in assets, countries, and currencies. Knowing how to diversify your wealth is the single most important thing. And just to give the man a bit of credibility, he manages $160 billion. And over the last 40 years, he's managed to get a return of 21%. I'm sure most of you in US dollars would love to have 21% a year. That's what he's achieved for 40 years by looking at 15 quality assets that are not tied together. It's all about diversification. Number 2, the Vanguard Group. Diversification can reduce risk of a portfolio by as much as 70% while maintaining a similar level of return. Their portfolio over the last 30 years has achieved a return of 9.8% compound annual return. Number 3, BlackRock, which is the biggest money manager in the world. They said investors who diversify across asset classes, regions, and sectors experience better risk-adjusted returns over the long term. The report notes that the benefit of diversification are so fundamental that they are some of the few things investors can rely on in confidence in a rapidly changing world. Number 4, Tony Robbins. He did the research and he found that 96% of fund managers don't beat the market. So you got 100 people, 96% of them go to the stock market and they fail to beat the average. Only 4% of them beat the average, but yet they charge you lots of fees. He said diversification is essential. Asset allocation matters. Don't over diversify. Seek expert advice. Stay informed and be proactive. And automate your investments and tap the power of compounding. Number 5, Jim Rogers. So this was a picture of Jim and I. I've had lunch with him twice in Singapore. He was a billionaire at 37. He worked with George Soros. And he traveled all over the world by bike. And I was holding up my book, his book, and he was holding up my book. We were pointing in the world where to invest. He says you need concentrated investments. He said you need a long-term focus. And he said you've got to have skepticism of traditional diversification. So that's where you give it to a financial advisor and they kind of just spray and pray around the world. Number 6, Richard Branson, one of the greatest entrepreneurs out there. And he says you must focus on your core strengths, entrepreneurial mindset, and take calculated risks and build a diversified business empire. You can see the people that I've spent a huge amount of time and money over the last 10 years, 15 years, learning from so that we could help myself and others around the world invest like the top 1%. Number 7, Dr. Dolph DeRuss, Real Estate Riches. And he basically said, real estate is a diversification tool. You've got geographic diversification. You've got different property types and strategies. You've got risk management. And this was a little video where I interviewed him when I paid to go on that buying trip and what he thought about buying property around the world.
You've traveled the world, been around the world 100 different times. I think you said the other night at the presentation we went to. The world's going global. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit about what your thoughts are. 10 years ago, property was very much a case of I lived in Phoenix, I bought a house in Phoenix. Right. I lived in Johannesburg, I bought a house in Johannesburg. And with the advent of the internet and access to information and cheap flights and all that sort of stuff, it's going global. The bottom line is people are interested in returns in different areas. You could get a far better, possibly a far better deal here, better yield, etc. So now suddenly, well, should I invest in Joburg? Should I invest here? Well, it actually comes down to numbers.
It does come down to the numbers. If you live in Joburg, I would say get your first investment property in Joburg. Probably get your second one there. You've got to cut your teeth on it. You've got to learn the ropes. You've got to learn what it takes to be a good investor. But if you've got 10 properties in Joburg and you're looking at buying an 11th, I, for one, would say don't buy it in Joburg. Buy it in Cape Town. Go to Port Elizabeth. Go to Durban. Go to anywhere else. And once you've got a few more, I would even say it's time to think about going global. And you South Africans know the answer to this better than most nationals of any country, because you've suffered from the ravages of what can happen to the rand. And I'm from New Zealand originally. We had it there too. We had exchange rate controls. If you left the country, it might still be the law. If you left the country for more than 13 weeks, they stopped your social security payments and your pension and stuff because they didn't want anyone, heaven forbid, to spend their New Zealand dollars overseas. So you need to spread your risk a bit. And if you're going to spread your risk, why put it into a market where the currency is going down, where the population's in decline, and where there's no growth? You are far better off investing in places where there is great growth. And I always say it is so easy to beat the average. The average growth rate long-term in this country for real estate is about 9.7%. But don't settle for 9.7. That's the average. That includes little cities that have shut down because they used to have a steel plant or a coal mining plant and they've shut down. They might have negative growth. So the 9.7 is the average. That means there are other places that have high growth. That's why, as we said before today, if you invest in Las Vegas or Phoenix, you will beat the national average by a wide margin just by picking those cities. So let's say we're talking about Phoenix. You don't even have to pick a house at random here, because there are suburbs that for decades have grown at faster than the average rate and other suburbs that grow at less than the average rate. And these stats are easy to come by. You compare that to stocks or shares or whatever you call them. It's very hard to pick something, a market sector that has higher than average growth. They used to say it was technology stocks, and then we had the technology crash, and then they said it was bio, whatever, and then that crashed. It's very hard to pick, and it doesn't tend to have those trends for a long term, but real estate trends stick around for a long time. So yes, invest overseas to hedge your bets, and if you're going to invest overseas, why not pick a fast-growing market like Phoenix or Las Vegas?
So that's diversification in real estate across countries and ultimately your wealth going global. Number 8, Robert Kiyosaki, we've spoken a lot about him. This was me interviewing him. It's a short little interview on making your money work for you and why it is so important.
Had the most incredible couple of days with you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
And Scott, I am so proud of you. I mean, you took the risk, you came here. It's a great program.
Everyone asks the question around how do you get into the investor mindset? And I asked you at breakfast, I said, what's the single most important thing to being an investor in the I quadrant? What would you say it is?
Laziness. No, it's education and, it's skill sets. Most people don't have the skill sets to be an investor. They went to school to get a job, but not an investor.
And I mean, talk to us a little bit about that financial education. You talk about how that's so important for everybody.
Yeah, financial education is having money work for you.
Yeah.
So you don't work for money. So you're not a slave to money, especially today, because the world is changing so fast. The United States is the biggest debtor nation in history. Something's going to happen, good and bad. So if it's bad, you and I get richer. It's just amazing how much power our brains have.
Oh, no, it's incredible, man.
But we're not trained to use it.
Yeah. No, that's 100%. Well, listen, thank you very much. I really respect it, and thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for coming here. I mean, I'm so proud of you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
So the essence of what he said is you've got to make your money work for you. Focus on education and financial intelligence. He said that he expects bad things to happen, and those that are financially intelligent will get richer. Cash flow over diversification. Invest in what you know. Beware of the risks. So this is risk mitigation, really, really important. And then alternative investments. And wealth going global is exactly that. It's all about how does one not just invest in the stock market and the traditional things that everyone else invests in. How do you do what the top 1% are doing? And more than 50% of them are investing in alternative assets. Of the top 1%, more than 50% of their wealth is in alternative investments. And how do you copy them? Number 9, Clem Sunter. So I've already spoken about the book that Clem Sunter forwarded for me, but this was a little interview that Clem Sunter and I were doing about the importance of investing like the top 1%.
You're providing that access to allow ordinary people to make the kind of decisions that, obviously very rich people are making because they have a continual discussion with their advice.
So, if you want to be like the top 1%, you need economic and business diversification. You need a long-term outlook. You need to consider multiple scenarios, and you need collaboration and partnerships. So much more important than trying to do it all on your own. And then number 10, Warren Buffett. He said diversification is protection against ignorance. Makes little sense if you know what you're doing. So people bring that up for me, but if you go read his book Snowball and go into it in more detail, he actually says you should have concentrated investing. Ray Dalio says 15 assets. Circle of competence. So you either need to know what you're doing, or you need to have partners that know what they're doing. Quality over quantity. It's not about spray and pray and putting your money across mutual funds. It's about quality over quantity. Have a long-term perspective. Do you know that, interesting enough, Warren Buffett's made more money between the ages of 80 to 90 than he's made in his whole life before that. And apparently when he was talking with Jeff Bezos says, why doesn't anyone copy the way that you invest? And he said, because no one likes to get rich slowly. And then risk management, look after your money. That's why this entire presentation is around how do you protect your capital. And that's what the top 1% is all about. That's what Wealth Going Global is all about. It's about protecting your capital in terms of that process. So let's just look at some results. The family office gives us an update every month, and these are the top assets around the world. And in 2024, growth stocks did 26%, equities 19%. Go look at your portfolio now and tell me if your portfolios were growing like this. Your values at 12%, small caps 8%, MSI 8%, commodities 5%, global REITs 2%. This year, these are the markets. But what's interesting is that the average that they've achieved over the last 12 years is an average of 14% a year for their clients. So for their family office clients, 14%. Interesting enough, and I didn't know this, but when we went and did our results, our average over the last 10 years has also been 14% in terms of total return. Now, why is this important? Well, if you're getting a 6, 7, 8% return compared to a 14%, what difference is that going to make in terms of your retirement? If you're growing at a paltry sort of just above inflation, or if you're growing at 14%. And by the age of 65, this really, really counts. There's a short video here from our family office.
This doesn't change, guys. Asset allocation, and this is not all of the asset classes we work with, but asset allocation is going to account for 85% of your return and is the fundamental building blocks of asset management and a financial plan that's going to produce income or anything. But Anthony's going to talk to this, and this will give you very specific kind of views around the returns, the averages, and where we think the value lies.
So, what he said there is 85% of your long-term returns will come down to your portfolio construction. And I suppose the question I have for you is, are you trying to do it on your own? Are you trusting a financial advisor blindly, but actually having no idea what they're doing? Or do you have a team that's doing it with you, for you? And why I use the word with you, for you, is you need to increase your financial intelligence. You need to be able to, as someone that wants their wealth to go global, you need to have a level of knowledge so that you can be a team member, a partner in the process. And on top of that, you can actually have someone do it for you. Which one is it? Are you trying to do it on your own, or do you have a team? Because what I want to share with you is diversification and how to invest like the top 1%. And most people sit here and they say, but Scott, it's not possible. I can't. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the knowledge. Well, things have changed. It's now a lot simpler when one considers what technology's done. When you consider what's happened with Uber, Airbnb, Netflix, and many other different organizations. And I'll give you a quick analogy. Before Uber came along, the wealthiest people in the world had private drivers. So, they would, if they were in London, they would have their private driver. Jeeves would come, pick them up, take them to the office. They'd have a meeting. When they wanted to go home, Jeeves would come back, pick them up, and take them home. The wealthiest of the wealthy had private drivers. When you and I went to the airport, we had to phone old school, horrible taxis. But then came along a smartphone, and we all got Uber. And now every single one of us has a private driver. So as long as you've got a smartphone, you've got a private driver. So what has technology done? Well, it's dramatically cut the costs. It's cut out the middlemen, and it's dramatically increased the trust the transparency, and the accessibility. All of us now have access to a driver, to a private driver. Well, it's exactly the same when it comes to diversification, to wealth, to a family office, and being able to invest like the top 1%. We call it diversification 5.0. And what it's all about is all about the passive income. But to do that, you have to diversify your assets across countries, currencies, assets, partners, and time. This is truly about making your money work for you. And a good example is in the last couple of years, we've invested on 5 continents, 5 currencies, 40 different assets, 15 different partners, and across time. And there's one framework that I want to share with you that the top 1% have. And that is, there are 4 elements to passive income and to freedom. 4. And we've done this for thousands and thousands of people and facilitated over $1.3 billion. The first is that you need the right partners. The second is that you need access to the right deals. The third is that you need the right information. And the fourth is that you need diversification. Now, I'd strongly recommend you take a picture of that because that's what it takes. It's not that complicated. And now with technology, just like the private driver, you've all got access to being able to invest like the top 1% through the paid framework. And it's essential because when you look at it, this is how you get paid a diversified passive income of $1,000 or more. So I wrote the book in 2013, and Nelson Mandela said, money won't create success, the freedom to make it will. And I promised you tonight that I would show you that by attending Wealth Going Global, you would move from feeling uncertain and overwhelmed about your financial future to having a clear, personalized roadmap, which was backed by the same strategies, partners, and global opportunities that the top 1% use, so that you can protect your wealth, you can diversify, you can grow it sustainably, and you can finally achieve financial freedom as a global citizen. So the question I've got for you, are you going to continue to work for money? If you're a business owner or an entrepreneur or professional, you keep hustling and grinding and working for money? Or are you going to partner and invest like the top 1% and have your money work for you? Which one is it? Is it the hustle and grind and trying to do it all on your own? Or are you going to partner with others and make your money work for you? Type for me in the chat box. Which one is it? I know many of you, I recognize many of the names. Business owners, entrepreneurs, professionals, investors. You've got money. You want to look after your money. You want to protect it. Are you going to keep working harder for more money because your money's not working for you? Or are you going to change that and do it differently and actually make your money work for you? Are you going to start setting your life up to live on your terms so that your money is providing you the lifestyle you want, the freedom that you want, the time that you want, the choices that you want? So I want to share with you and remind you of the 2 different economies. Because the world I want for you and the world that Wealth Going Global provides is for the new world, the new economy, where it's a life full of jobs. You've got multiple income streams. Your money works for you. You build wealth that lasts 100 years. You have self-funded financial freedom. You have global currencies. You have diversified global assets. You build passive income now. You have a full spectrum family office strategy, all 9 steps. Financial education is essential. You understand that investing in yourself is non-negotiable. And you design your life on your terms. So I've got a question for you. Who here would like to know a little bit about Wealth Going Global and what we're doing and how we've set up a system to allow people to make the new economy, to give yourself a tick box of 11 out of 11 and make this a reality? Who would like me to share? I can see Alistair Wood. I don't need to. I've literally just been to some of the best investors in the world. I've learned the best investment strategies. I've met some of the best partners. I met a partner there that does self-storage. He's growing his rental by 30 to 40% a year. He needs to raise $3 million. He raised it in 8 minutes. 8 minutes. And that's what the new economy is all about, having the right information and the right partners. So 2 years ago, my partner and I, Shane, launched Wealth Going Global. It was the 10-year upgrade. It's now time for the upgrade again, because the world is ever enhancing. I've learned from some of the best in the world, and we're going to enhance it. And so for those who come on the journey with us with Wealth Going Global, it's going to be a 6-week sprint. In week 1, you're going to get clear on your why. We're going to sit down with you. We're going to get very clear on why you're doing this. We've got our partners coming in to talk about your Enneagram EQ, which is where you as an investor, it's the whole Enneagram, you know yourself. Like, who are you as an investor and why is this important? It's literally the clarity that you need to succeed. Then in week 2, we'll go to countries. Where do I invest? We'll help you know literally the top 5 countries to invest in. Where do you actually invest? Then week 3, it's currencies. Which ones? Pound, dollar, Bitcoin, Swiss franc, yen. Which ones is it? And we bring in my partner and good friend, James Painter, who takes us through the different currencies and what you need to know and how you invest. Then it's assets. Which ones? We know that we need 15 quality assets. Ray Dalio has shown us that tonight. But which ones? And what do we invest in? Then partners. How do we find them? How do we invest like the top 1%? How do we invest in the same partners the top 1% are investing in? Who are they? Time. I need a plan. If you don't have a plan specifically for the new economy, then you're planning to fail. Do you go on holiday and have no plan? You don't. Well, surely your wealth and your retirement and your freedom is as important, if not more important. And, if you do Wealth Going Global, you will finish with a plan, a personalized plan. It's a how. And then finally, you've got smart investing as a bonus session. And that's all about technology. And that's so that you can scale. That's so that you can leverage beyond yourself and get momentum. And so that's what it's all about, Wealth Going Global. And I've just invested $10,000. Who would like to know what I want to offer for people so that you can do it a lot more affordably? Because just like with the technology allows us to cut out the costs, to cut out the middleman, to dramatically increase the trust, the transparency, and the accessibility. So would you like me to share with you the journey that I'm about to go on and invite you to join me, where you can literally learn from the best in the world? So the value that you put to it in terms of it, the book 10 years ago cost $30 to go on a buyer's trip. 10 years ago, it cost $5,000 to fly to America, to England, or to Australia. The due diligence, when we do due diligence on bigger deals, it's often upwards of $250,000. To join the mastermind is $6,000 at a minimum. And I just paid $10,000 to go to the Investor Summit. And so when you look at it, and when you take my hourly coaching fee and everything that I've invested in terms of the process, there are 6 modules that we're going to go through. The first module at Wealth Going Global is the power of clarity. It's understanding your why. It's getting very clear. The value, $997. The second is countries, uncovering the global market, where to invest. The value, $997. Currencies, the currency conundrum, managing risk. How do you manage risk and what currencies should you invest in? $997. Assets, building your global portfolio. How do you select the right assets? We spoke a lot about portfolio construction and how important that is. $997. Partners, the power of partnership, investing globally with confidence. How do you choose the right partners and make sure it's the right partners and avoid the mistakes that 80% of people make? $997. Timing. Putting a plan together is all about timing. Your portfolio construction accounts for 85% of your total return. $997. And then the bonus module, smart investing, where you bring it all together with tech and the future of smart investing. You know, I've got a smart watch, I've got a smartphone, smart TV, smart fridge. Are using technology in your investing space? How do you use technology to scale and to leverage? We call it smart investing. You take the whole value, just short of $7,000. As I said, I paid $10,000 literally 2 weeks ago to go and learn for 9 days from some of the best in the world. But I feel very strongly that our passion, our purpose is to help everyone invest like the top 1%. So we're not going to charge people $6,979 to come on Wealth Going Global. Normally, a course like this should be at least $997, but we're not even going to charge that because we truly want to democratize it. And so today, in terms of our pre-launch, I'm excited to offer it to everyone at $497. And so for $497, you literally get access to the 6 modules: the power of clarity, how to choose the top 5 countries, how to choose the top 5 currencies, how to choose the top 15 assets, how do you find the right partners and avoid 80% of the mistakes, how do you build a plan over time, specifically focused on the new economy, and then finally, how to use technology. And if that's something of interest to you, you literally go to wealthgoingglobal.com/join. Now, we've done this for hundreds of people. And as long as you follow the program, we actually have a money-back guarantee in terms of from a satisfaction perspective. Because we've done this so many times and we've had so many incredible people go through it, and we've had so many testimonials and feedback that we're happy for people, as long as they turn up, that if they don't think it's of value, we'll give them the money back. So we actually take the risk off the table in terms of that entire process. And I want to share a story with you, because if you're interested in this, you literally, it's as simple as this is your ticket. You go to Wealth Going Global, you can watch the short video here. You've got everything that is involved. You've got the fast action bonuses. You can literally put in your details. You can go to your payment details and you can sign up and join us. And you can go and look at what all the other clients have had to say. You can see what the different modules are, just so that you've got complete clarity and everything that you get. So everything is here, and you can go and read what I'd suggest you get a cup of coffee, because you'll be here for a while, because hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people have done this in terms of this process. And one of the people that's done this and been through this journey is a really interesting guy. He's the auditor of the Auditor General of South Africa. He's a chartered accountant. We've had highly sophisticated business people. We've had CAs, we've had doctors, we've had teachers, we've had farmers, we've even had a plumber. So we've had different business owners, entrepreneurs, investors, professionals go through this. But one of the things that I love was the story of Abdul, where he shares the fact that he's been successful in his country, but it was time to diversify. It was time to protect as well. And let's share the journey that he went on, why he did it, and the outcomes that he achieved.
And I'm a living example of that. In my little life journey, from opening up my own auditing practice, the firm today audits the Auditor General of South Africa in terms of doing, pre-issuance reviews, etc.
So Abdul, let me ask a question to you in terms of it. So you've been very, very successful in property in your country, but you went and decided to sign up.
Scott, like I said to you at the beginning, I have this wealth. It's all localized. I have no exposure anywhere else on earth. Okay, so the catchy phrase from your side was going global, or diversified income going global. Now that appealed to me. In other words, yes, I may be rich in this country. What happens if I'm outside? There's all types of restrictions in terms of the transfer of my wealth, my assets, wherever I may be on earth. So that appealed to me, and that really opened an opportunity or a process for me in terms of engaging in diversifying my wealth. And I must say, although I have the brains to think that out, why must I do that? Yeah, you're giving it to us on a platter. So we follow that process, and yes, we engage, and yes, we will get exposed. We have obviously since did do an investment again in property. Property is the economics, I understand. One of the things you alerted us or reminded myself is that if you do things in teams, it becomes easier. Collective wisdom is better than your own limited and parochial type of ideas. So that's also something I quite enjoyed. But if you don't have that, maybe we'll never get to success.
Yeah.
Surely it won't happen next week, but as long as it happens, I think you're on the right road. And that's the path I've chosen to take. And thanks to you, Scott. And it's never too late. The only time when you're late is when you're late. You're dead.
Yeah.
Up until then, you have a purpose on this earth, perform it.
So,
and
you know, for me, what Abdul said is so important. Not only are we giving it to you on a platter, but it's so much easier to get there with a team. So, you know, you can try and do it all yourself. You can go read all the books. You can go on all the courses. You can try and get invited to the Investor Summit next year. Or you can join a team that's already done it for 28 years. And so the word I want you to write down is, do you have your team? You know, you're only as good as the 5 people you hang around with most. When it comes to investing, when it comes to real estate, when it comes to the stock market, when it comes to wealth, who are the 5 people you're hanging around with most? Do you have your team? And if you want to go and look, like I shared with you, there are hundreds of testimonials. You can go sit on Trustpilot. You can go look at the webpage. You can go watch videos. I suggest you get a cup of coffee because hundreds of people have been through this experience already. And all you need to do, if you want your wealth to go global, is you go to the link, wealthgoingglobal.com/join. And we immediately become your team. And we go on a journey together. This is not a course. I want to be very clear on what I'm saying. This is not a course. It is a strategic, logical process to create a plan for you, to give you the knowledge, and then to help you execute and get results. That is why it's a structured approach that we go through over a 6-week program where we give you the knowledge, we give you access to the right partners, we give access to the right deals, we give you the right information, and we teach you how to diversify. And that is the paid framework. And that's what hundreds of other people have done. We also add in some bonuses because these things assist you in that process. The first one is a wealth discovery call. So you sit down with one of our team, we understand, what are you wanting to achieve? Where are you at? What has prevented you from getting from where you are to where you want to be? And then ultimately helping you get. So this is where you want to be. This is where you are. Now we want to help you get from A to B as quickly as possible. Bonus number 2, coaching and accountability. So every single week on a Friday, I will be there to answer questions. So on a Tuesday, you'll get the theory. And on a Friday, we'll have coaching and accountability. Now, I'm an internationally qualified coach. I will hold you to account, and I will answer any questions that you have. And if you've ever done any proper learning or teaching or studying, you'll understand that you need to get the knowledge, you need to synthesize it, you need to do the exercises, and you need to be able to ask questions. And that's why it's important. This is live. You can turn up every week. You can ask whatever questions you want. And according to Harvard, you've got a 400% better chance of success if you actually have a coach. You'll get access to all the calculators. So I've never actually shared all the calculators other than at Wealth Going Global. You'll get the Global Property System, the Global Wealth Index, the Freedom Calculator, and the ROI Calculator. I'll take you through all of that. You'll get the cheat sheets. We've got a whole bunch of cheat sheets that we put together on deal risk categories, asset terminology, diversification, the mindset of how the top 1% invest, how do you deal with uncertainty. We've got a whole plethora of cheat sheets that you'll get access to. And we've also got Clem Santa, where I've done a number of events with Clem over the years, over the last 10 years, and you'll have an update on the latest scenarios, flags, and probabilities to help you know where in the world to invest and how to do it and what to be able to do. So to summarize, what you're looking at. You've got the 6 modules. The first one will help you get the clarity. The second one will help you know where in the world to invest. The third one will help you know what currencies to invest in. The fourth one will help you know what are the top 15 assets to invest. The fifth one will be all around the partners. How do you find and choose the right partners? The sixth one's all about time. It's about putting you together your plan, a robust plan for the new economy. And the seventh one, which is a bonus, is all around smart investing and technology. Your fast action bonus, you've got a wealth discovery session, which is worth $197. You've got the coaching and accountability. My rate is $1,000 an hour. So you've got me every week for, for at least 6 weeks. So that's over $6,000. You've got all the calculators, which is $197. You've got the cheat sheets, which are $997. And you've got Clem Santa, which is $750. You put the whole lot together and you've got a total value of over $15,000. And if you literally go to wealthgoingglobal.com/join now, you're going to get it for $497. Now, I remind you of the Investor Summit. I spent $10,000. That's what it cost me. And there's a great thing that I've learned in my life, that cost is irrelevant when it comes to value. And so in the presence of value, cost is irrelevant. And so when I look at this event, it cost me $10,000 to be there. And you had to be personally invited. But how much value is it going to bring to me as an investor through both getting the right information and getting access to the right partners? What is the value that that's going to bring me over the next couple of weeks, months, years? Not only to me, but to our company, to our community, to you as investors. And so the question I ask for you, when you look at a cost and when you think of development and investing in yourself, for $497, there's a personal investment in yourself to ensure that you get the right information, to ensure that you get the right partners, to ensure that you have a plan, to ensure that your wealth can truly go global. And how much is that going to be worth to you over the next year, over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years? And by the way, someone asked a question here, and because this is our pre-launch, Chris Wilkins said, do you get a discount if you're 2 people? Chris, what I'm going to offer tonight is if you go to that link, we're only going to leave it open until Friday. But if you go to that link this week in our pre-launch, if you sign up, you can bring a friend. So for Chris and others, if you take advantage now till Friday, you can literally bring a friend in terms of that process. So what's it worth to you? Think about it 5 years from now, 10 years from now. How much would $497 be to you in 5 years, 10 years, if you had the right information and the right partners? Now let's look at some of the things that stand in the way of people that are diversifying. What are some of the myths that hold people back? Well, the first one is that global investing is only for the wealthy. Many people believe that global investing is only for wealthy and requires a lot of money to get started. However, there are many low-cost options available to investors who want to diversify their portfolios. When you look at it, Kathy Wood, that's one of the greatest venture capitalists in the world, said, don't underestimate the little guy. Tiger Williams said, retail investors used to be wrong. Not anymore. You've got 50 million of them tied together and they really matter. Fractional investing represents the future. And on our platform, you can invest from $10. So just think about it. 10 years ago, when you were Michael, you had to get on an airplane with me. You had to fly to America. You had to have at least $100,000 in cash to buy one house. You had to set up a company. You had to open a bank account. It took you weeks to plan your trip to America. It took a long time in America. Then you had to buy the property. Then you had to manage it. You had to go through all of that complexity. And now you can do it from $10. Nobody has an excuse. I guarantee you probably spend $10 today on a coffee or a drink or a sandwich or something. Every single person can participate and invest like the top 1%, because it's all about the paid framework. It's about having the right partners. It's about having the right information. It's about having access to the right deals, and it's about diversification. And that is how someone gets paid. And that's what Wealth Going Global is all about. And I strongly recommend that you join if that's something that you resonate with and that you want to invest and have your money work for you. Number two, investing in foreign markets is too risky. Some investors believe that investing in foreign markets is too risky because of the political instability or currency fluctuations. While there is always some level of risk involved in investing, there are many ways to mitigate risk through diversification and careful research. So in my book, I actually showed people, by the way, one of the reasons I brought my book out was the research that I did when my book came out was over 80% of people that invest overseas lose money. So that was in, before 2013, because this book came out in 2013. So the average person that tries to do it themselves, over 80% of people lose money. So the very thing they're trying to do, protect their money, and they lose it. So when I did this, I showed people how you can go get the right information. And again, when we do Wealth Going Global, I'll literally show you how to go and get the right information. And I showed people here that we started investing in Australia in 2009. We invested in the best markets, the best performing areas. Here in England, we started here, we stopped, we started again here in England. And in America, we literally got it within 3 months at the bottom of the market. That's what happens when you've got the right systems, models, and you know where to find the right information. It's too difficult to invest in foreign markets. Investing in foreign markets may seem daunting for some investors, especially if they're not familiar with the language or the customs of that country. However, there are many resources available to help investors navigate the complexities of investing globally. And again, I've been through this, but I'm going to put it on the screen. The 4 elements to passive income and freedom, according to the top 1%. So this is how the top 1% invest. You get the right partners, you get access to the right information, you get access to the right deals, you get the right information, and you get diversification. And that is how you get paid in terms of the process. And a good example of that was Ryan. He came to us in 2009. He started investing in Australia. He bought 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom homes in Brisbane and Melbourne. And in 2009, 2010, 2011, Australia was the best performing property market in the G20. Brisbane and Melbourne were the best performing cities in Australia, and 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom homes were the best performing asset. And that's a great example of getting access to the right partners, access to the right deals, the right information, and diversification. Global investing is not necessary. Some investors may believe that they achieve financial goals by investing only in their home market. However, by not diversifying their portfolios globally, they may miss out on potential opportunities for growth and may be more vulnerable to economic downturns in their home market. What's interesting, some people think this is a Chinese problem or Argentinian problem or Brazilian problem or South African problem. But if you invested all your money in the American housing market in 2008, depending on where you invested, it dropped between 40 to 70%. You would look like a class clown if you had all your money tied up in American property. When I did an interview with James Painter, the guy that wrote chapter 2 of the book and the guy that's going to do the entire module on currencies, he did a session with our mastermind, and he actually shared with our mastermind how the stock market could lose anywhere in the region of like 85%, which, by the way, is exactly what the people at the Investor Summit were saying. They were really concerned about the American stock market. Now, I'm not saying they're right and I'm not saying they're wrong, but I do know one thing. If you diversify, then you protect yourself against these things. Because what happens in cycles is that people see it going down and they get scared, but actually need to look at the long-term fundamentals. What are the long-term fundamentals? And a good example of this was in 2009, we were investing when you had the crash in England, and property in England lost 20%. But 32 of us bought apartments in City Peninsula in London. And one of them was a guy called Don. He bought 4 units for £313,000 each. He got a 26% discount. When it finished in 2011, it was cash flow positive from day one. And he sold it just in COVID for about £1 million each. So he bought it for £313,000 and he sold each one for £1 million. And people say, oh, that sounds too good to be true. Well, not if you take long-term trends. Night Dragon, and this came out in June of 2022, is investing 8.4 billion pounds, $10.3 billion into the Greenwich Peninsula. They're building 17,500 homes, 84,000 square feet of commercial and retail, 20,000 square feet of attractions. When you consider that the tube station was put in and everything, that's what created and allowed the growth. I don't know how. Well, you can either try to figure it all out yourself. You can go on all the courses, you can read all the books, or you can partner with someone that's done it with people in 178 countries, facilitated $1.3 billion in deals, paid out over $31 million. And across all of that, there's the simple paid framework of the right partners, access to the right deals, the right information, and diversification. And if you want to know how to do that, there's no simpler way than coming on Wealth Going Global, where I will literally hold your hand and take you on the journey. And I will teach you how to choose the countries, choose the currencies, choose the assets, find the right partners, build a plan over time, and ultimately use technology. And then the last one, the one that I always find funny when I'm dealing with business owners and entrepreneurs and professionals, is that they're busy. And they always say to me, but Scott, I don't have the time. I was dealing with a lady in Durban recently, and she was like, I don't have the time. I'm a high-end professional, and I don't have the time. And I said to her, well, if you don't invest the time in your relationships, will they work? And the answer is no. If you don't invest the time in your health, will you be fit and healthy in 5 or 10 years? No. Well, it's the same when it comes to your wealth. If you can't put aside 2 or 3 hours, and in this case, 2 hours a week for 6 weeks, and set yourself up for success, then you're never going to be wealthy. Whatever you want in 5 years or 10 years is never going to happen. You have to invest the time, even if it's condensed time. So you can be like me, and you can take 28 years worth of knowledge, and you can take, just in the last 2 weeks, I've flown there and I've spent 9 days learning from the best people on the planet. And I can bring it to you, and I can condense the time for you. I can condense it decades into days, but you still have to invest the time, a small amount of time, to make sure that you get what you want in your life. And I want to give you a gift. So for those of you who join Wealth Going Global by Friday, we're actually going to give you a voucher. So you're going to invest $497 in yourself to come on Wealth Going Global. But if you do it by Friday, then we're going to give it to you as a gift voucher. And the reason being is that everyone, so normally we do wealth weekends, which is where we get together with our mastermind and our family office. And it's generally been exclusive to our mastermind members. But to those people that come on Wealth Going Global, you'll be able to use your $497 as a voucher towards the wealth weekend. And so it's a gift. And so why are we doing that? Well, one of the best things that you can do when it comes to wealth is to immerse yourself. And so for 3 days, you come along and you spend time with other like-minded investors, and you spend time with the family office. And this was us when we did it in Stellenbosch in March 2024. This was us up at the Cradle of Humankind in August 2024. I mean, this gentleman here was teaching people about generational wealth. He charges $250,000 a family. Karen was taking people through the Enneagram of wealth. Who are you as an individual? Why do you make the decisions you make when it comes to investing? Garth was taking people through the 6 mega trends. And we had lots of fun in the process as well. You know, life is about living. So not only about getting the knowledge and building trust, but actually about living. In March this year, we did it in Knysna, my hometown, one of the top holiday towns in South Africa, been voted the top holiday town for about 5 years running. And so come and experience it. And again, why am I showing you this? Well, my invitation to everyone that comes on Wealth Going Global will be to actually join us at the Wealth Weekend, because you'll take the information and the knowledge, but now you'll have immersive experience, and you'll come with the family office. You'll have immersion with the family office and with global investment experts. It'll be next level of learning and strategy. It'll be peer-to-peer mastermind. There's nothing more valuable than face-to-face. We do have online. If you can't make it physically, we do have online, but there's nothing more valuable than face-to-face. You'll get a global perspective and local advantage. You'll have emotional and psychological wealth mastery. So it's a lot of what we go through is the psychology as much as the plan and the execution. You'll have tangible outcomes, not theory. If you haven't picked that up from us already, it's all about tangible outcomes. And then it's exclusive. So if you can't come, the Wealth Weekend is by invite only. And so the gift I want to give to people who are coming now before Friday is you'll be able to take your Wealth Going Global investment and you'll be able to put it towards the Wealth Weekend so that you can actually join us. And the question I would have is, do you want to come and have a luxurious couple of days, have a lot of fun with other like-minded people, to immerse yourself with a family office, to walk away with trust and a plan? And the next one is the 10th to the 14th of September. So it's physical. The physical one is in Niceland, South Africa, and the online one is obviously online in terms of that process. So I want to introduce you to Jeanette. Now, Jeanette is a director of ABSA, one of the biggest banks in Africa, one of the biggest banks in the world. And what's interesting is that even though she works in a bank and even though she's in the financial sector, she hadn't taken the time to learn about her own wealth. And she came on this very journey. She was just like you. She was sitting in the same seat you were sitting, the same seat I was sitting in. And she's been on this journey, and this was her experience for her and her family.
What I love about it is that it helps me to be active. I'm not just putting in my money and then going away. I'm growing, it's investing in myself, but it's also given me an opportunity to even involve my family as well. You know, this notion of building generational wealth, it may be far-fetched for other people, but the mastermind has given me the opportunity to really start looking at how I built generational wealth, and I love that. And I can see how I'm integrating, you know, the stuff that I'm doing and the passion I have for my corporate executive role, which I don't have to drop, but my wealth is also growing, and I'm also learning and continuing to invest.
So what I want for all of you, and you can type it down, is the word generational wealth. How important is your wealth to you? Not just you, but your children. Because you can break cycles here. And if you're a business owner or a professional and an investor, now's the time to invest like the top 1%. Now's the time to create generational wealth and to be able to pass it on to your children and to your children's children and have a legacy. And that's what Wealth Going Global is all about. And the last myth that people have in terms of it is, I'm too old. And it's interesting because I have this one all the time. And like, oh, you know, I'm 50, I might be too old. I'm 60, I might be too old. I'm 70, I might be too old. But what's so interesting is there's a beautiful Chinese proverb. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Alex and I have it all the time. Oh, I wish I heard you've been listening to Scott for 10 years. I wish I'd taken action. We hear it literally weekly. But the next best time is today. And so the question I have for you is, are you going to leave your financial freedom and your passive income on the line? Or are you going to take action, make a decision? Is today going to be the first day for the rest of your life? Is today going to be the day that you protect your wealth, that you diversify, that you invest like the top 1%, that you now understand how financial freedom works as a global citizen? And ultimately, is today going to be the first day that you make a decision for your wealth to go global? So I want to finish with some understanding here, and it's called the learning pyramid. By the way, Robert Kiyosaki spoke a lot about this when I was with him for this investor summit. We remember after 10 days, we remember 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see, 50% of what we see and hear, 70% of what we say and write. How many of you were taking notes? Why do you think I asked you to write with your pen? And then 90% of what we say and do. And that's why we built Wealth Going Global, not as a course. It's not a course. It's a journey. We're going to see, we're going to hear, we're going to do. We've got actions and activities so that you walk away with tangible plans. It's a transformation. You go from being a 99% investor, and your transformation is to being a top 1% investor. Your transformation is through going through Wealth Going Global, that you now have a plan and you set yourself up for success in the new economy. And so quick question, and I'm conscious of the time here, but for the left brainers in the room, who would like me to just go into a bit more detail about each module, what you get out of each module? If you would, let me know in the chat box. For the right brainers, you can make a decision. You know what Wealth Going Global is about. The decision's simple. Do you want to invest like the 99%ers and keep doing what you've always done and get the same results as them? Or do you want to invest like the top 1%ers? And do you want your wealth to go global and do you want to get the same results? And if that's what you want, then it's easy. You go to wealthgoingglobal.com and /join. And in terms of the time. So to the left brainers, I can see that some people have been asking me to go into in a bit more detail. So just to the core modules. If I start off, the first one's the power of clarity. And I'm going to go through this quickly because I'm conscious of the time. But this is about understanding your why. It's where we go through. Most people are trying to figure out their how and their what. How do I do this? What do I have to do? But the most important thing is your why. And then your Enneagram and wealth. There's 27 different tri-types. And you get to understand who you are as an investor. Why do you make the decisions you make? You'll probably understand the mistakes you made in the past. But more importantly, you'll understand that what are the right type of investments for you going forward in terms of that process. And I mean, we've had so many different testimonials. Love this session, amazing session, rewarding, thank you, beautiful story, profound, etc., etc., etc. Then we go to countries. And this is where it's uncovering the global market. Where do you invest? We help investors get clarity on the countries they wish to invest in and avoid the mistakes that 80% of people make. So what countries do you want to invest in? And I take you through the modules of Clem Santa's scenario planning. I built a 4-dimensional model, which is all based on the fundamentals. And I will literally take you in and I will show you where to get the right information. So if you go through the different countries, how do you choose the different countries? You can go through the different cities, all the different cities. Where do you get the information? Depending on where you want to invest between England, Australia, America, South Africa, all the different places to go and get the right information. You take that information, you put it into the models, and it can help you choose the top 5 countries. You can do it all yourself, or I will do it live for you, and I'll literally show you where are the best countries to invest according to the data for residential, for commercial, and for other alternative assets. And we put it on a matrix like this, so it's nice and easy to see for you. I also explain the global due diligence system and how we go about it, like choosing between the different countries, the different currencies, the different partners, the different assets in terms of. So we're not trying to teach you to do everything yourself because that'll overwhelm people, but we just want you to have the knowledge. You can either go do it all yourself or you can partner and have a team. That's what Wealth Going Global is all about. It's not about you doing all the work yourself, but it is about enhancing your knowledge so that you can be a partner in terms of the process. And mind blown right now. Sounds phenomenal. Mind blowing. Amazing. Thanks so much. Wow. Really fantastic. Then we go to currencies. This is the currency conundrum, managing risk in global investment. We help investors diversify their portfolio and mitigate risk by investing in multiple currencies. Again, Global Wealth Index is all about your buying power. And this is where James Painter takes you through this module on the hidden engines to the markets, why exchange rates adjust, and more importantly, where they're going to go. And a little secret here, but he's got an incredible service where you can actually log in and you can go and see the forecast, short, medium, long term for the dollar, the euro, the pound, the rand, for gold, for Bitcoin, for commodities, for everything. So another great session. Wow, love your passion. Thanks so much. Enjoyed it, etc., etc. Then we go to assets. This is about building your global portfolio, selecting the right assets for investment. We'll help investors find the top 15 assets without losing money and spending decades researching them through trial and error. How many of you would like to save decades through trial and error? So we go through the primary and secondary market. We go through asset allocation. We choose the top 15 assets that are most recognized, the 8 golden rules to choosing the right assets, and then what are the top 15 assets to invest in based on the data. And there's different models, be it residential or commercial, that we take people through in terms of it. And thanks, Scott, amazing teacher, outstanding session, great stuff, love the concept, brilliant, oh wow, great morning, really enjoyed. Then we go to partners. This is about the power of partnership, investing globally with confidence. We help investors be confident in their ability to choose the right partners. And again, we've got different things. If you're a beginner, we can help you, start with the 5 keys to real estate. If you're an intermediate, we help you learn how to invest offshore. And if you're more advanced, we'll help you teach you to build a global real estate portfolio all through partnership in terms of it. And we'll teach you about the different partners, how to choose the partners, how they get designated around the world at the institutional level, the top 1% level. And we'll take you through the due diligence system that we have, both in residential and in commercial. And again, you can figure it all out yourself, or you can save yourself decades and literally copy us. And breathtaking experience, devil's in the detail. Thanks so much. Very valuable. DD is so important. Grateful to be present. Invaluable. Obviously put tons of work into this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, time. And this is where you bring it all together. Your portfolio construction is going to account for 85% of your total return. And so are you building your plan? Do you have a plan for the new economy? And the mission here is to help investors design their wealth plan. And you'll walk away. You'll get the freedom calculator and you'll have the wealth plan. And thanks, guys. You're changing lives. This is amazing. Great session. Excellent. Great presentation. Super cool. And then we got the bonus, which is using technology, smart investing. So bringing it all together with technology and the future of investing. And again, that's the bonus module. So when you put it all together, we go through this in 6 weeks in terms of the journey. It's once a week for no more than 2 hours, 90 minutes to 2 hours per week. It's live. I take you through it live. There are recordings. You can literally watch the recordings anytime you want. But what's important at the end, what's the result? What's the transformation you're going to get? Well, you're going to walk away with a plan. You're going to have peace of mind because you're going to have your own personalized plan. You're going to have your own personalized investor strategy sheet. And everything can be put onto one page so that you've got clarity. And, this is the evolution from a 99%er where you invest like everyone else and you get the results that they get, or now you join the 1% club and you get the results that they get in terms of that process. So we started off with a question, and the greatest fear that most people have: what if I lose what I've worked so hard? You've worked so hard for your money. Don't have this fear. There's no need to have this fear, because by going through Wealth Going Global, you're going to have this transformation of going from feeling uncertain and overwhelmed about your financial future to having a clear, personalized roadmap, which is backed by the strategies, partners, and global opportunities used by the top 1%, so that you can protect your wealth, diversify, grow it sustainably, and finally achieve financial freedom with confidence. If that sounds good, Wealth Going Global has been designed. And I wanted to share with you a quick video of a lady called Anina that did Wealth Going Global, and this was her experience. And one of her greatest concerns was time. And she wasn't sure if this was for her, and Alex, my partner, convinced her to do it. And this was her experience of the journey. And it's what I want for all of you. And my assumption is that everyone here will do Wealth Going Global, because I doubt that anyone wants to be part of the 99%. I'm almost sure that every single person here wants to be part of the top 1%. And Wealth Going Global is literally your key, your ticket to being part of that top 1%. This is what Anina had to say.
Yeah, I think for me, investing overseas has always been a bit of pie in the sky. I never felt that I would ever be confident enough to do it because, I always want to know and understand exactly what I do before I get involved in any venture. So, so this course really opened things up for me and made me believe that it's really a possibility for me. Yeah, Scott, I must be honest, in the beginning, it was quite daunting to think that I had to block out 3 hours a week to attend the webinars. But in the end, it worked out perfectly. And also, I think just the way you and Shane organized the information. So if you did miss something, it was quite easy to listen to the recording and go back to the slides. And in fact, as you know, after about the third or the fourth webinar, I felt a bit lost and overwhelmed, and I took a day and a half out and I actually re-listened to all the material, which really brought a lot of the concepts home for me, So yeah, I think just it doesn't matter how busy you are, as long as you can make some time in your schedule. You know, the information is there, it's well organized, and it's easy to access at any time.
Brilliant.
I just want to say to people who are on the fence right now, you know, there's no time like the present. You know, a lot of us, and I think you told the story as well, that sometimes you wish you'd started 10 years ago. So I just want to say to people who are on the fence, the time is now, just go for it. Yeah, I must admit, you know, the wealth calculator was a bit depressing when I first did the calculations, because yeah, I mean, it's a reality check that's necessary, you know, to understand that if you want to get to where you want to go, that this is what you have to do, and you have to start today. And so I think it's really valuable for having a wealth planner to know what you need to do from tomorrow onwards. And yeah, I mean, I'm really excited, and I can't wait for the deals coming on the platform. So I'm looking out for those, and excited to begin. Absolutely. And yeah, can highly recommend. So go for it, guys. Yeah, I think
that's what the top 1% feels like. And this is the formula. You diversify across countries, currencies, assets, partners, and time. It's about building your globally diversified passive income. And when you have any skill in life, whether it's time management, learning to walk, wealth, what's going to happen is that you're going to learn something. And just like when you learn to walk, you stood up, fell down, stood up, fell down, stood up, fell down. So whenever you learn something new, your skills are going to improve, but then they fall off. But you're at a higher level. And there's only one way to get better at anything, and it's repetition. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Why do you think I've gone and spent time with Richard Branson, gone and spent time with Tony Robbins, gone and spent time with Dr. Dolph Duras, gone and spent time with Robert Kiyosaki? I spend time with the wealth, you know, our mastermind every single month. And we have our family office come in. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Because repetition is the mother of skill. And imagine if you were working over the next 12 months, if you were working on your knowledge around countries, currencies, assets, partners, time and time management, mindset and strategic thinking, execution and accountability, investing and reviewing. How different would your life be 12 months from now? Wealth Going Global has literally been designed to help set you up for success. It's 6 modules plus the bonuses, and it starts on the 22nd of July. So you've got 2 weeks to make up your mind. I think it's 2 weeks, yep, as to whether you're joining me. There will be recordings, but there's nothing better than being live in terms of it. And I remind you of everything that you get. You get the 6 main modules, you know, power of clarity, countries, currencies, assets, partners, and time, the plan. You've got the bonuses of the smart investing module. And then you've got the fast action bonuses of wealth discovery, coaching, accountability, calculators, cheat sheets, and Clem Santa. And for those of you who sign up by Friday, you also going to get, you can bring a friend to Wealth Going Global, and you can also take that $497 and you can put it as a voucher towards the Wealth Weekend. And so that's our invitation. It's over $15,000 worth of value, and we're literally giving it to you for $497. I want to finish with a closing thought. It's from someone who I highly respect. I haven't met him yet. Won't be long now until I meet him and we put him up with, because that's what I do when I'm impressed with someone, I like to go and meet them. But Alex Hormozy says here that you learn more from doing than learning how to do. Now, some people don't know who this gentleman is, but at 26, he was broke. He experienced several failures. He took time to reflect on his experience and realized the importance of learning from his failures. He embraced the concept of learning through hands-on experience and practical application. And at age 31, he's got multiple businesses over $100 million. And this is the little video he said about his experience and how over 5 years, he accelerated it so quickly.
If someone does something in a condition and then they learn something and then you present the same condition, if their behavior changes, they have learned something, right? Which either happens through reinforcement or punishment. That's it. And so I was consuming all the stuff and in the same condition, which means that I had learned nothing despite consuming a lot of content. And so once I realized that behavior and action was the thing that actually got me to learn. And so I biased all of my activity towards that rather than massive consumption of information. And I figured I would learn more from doing than from learning how to do. And that ended up being true.
So learn more from doing than learning how to do. If you're one of those people that keeps going on courses, keeps reading books, keep reading the financial journal, you're going to learn more from doing it. And Wealth Going Global has been designed to help you do it. That's why there's action steps every single part of the way. And as Alex said, people ask me all the time, how did you move so quickly? I know how to buy time. How do you buy time? By buying the time other people took to make the mistakes that taught them the lessons. Myself and my partners have done this. I've done this for 28 years, nearly 30 years. Why did I invest $10,000 to go and spend time with Robert Kiyosaki and Peter Schiff and Mike Maloney, the best in the world, and 11 other incredible investors? Because I'm buying time. When you invest in yourself, it's the fastest, simplest, quickest way to get results. And that's why when you do Wealth Going Global, there's action steps every week to help you get results in terms of that process. So that's it. Wealth Going Global. You can see everything that you're going to get. You can see the fast action bonuses. If you want to join, you literally go to wealthgoingglobal.com/join. And the value is worth $15,000, but you're actually not paying $15,000. You're getting it for a personal investment of $497. We're truly living up to our purpose and our passion of ensuring that we're allowing everyone to invest like the top 1%. Some people turn to me and they say, Scott, why is it not free? I'll tell you straight up, there's two reasons. The first is that when people pay, they pay attention. There's nothing that pisses me off more than when I'm live and I'm sharing and throwing my heart and soul into it and people don't turn up. So 497 is enough for someone to make a commitment. And we find when people make commitments, they get results. So that's the one reason. And the second reason is, as much as I want to democratize this and make this available to everybody, these are live sessions and I'm going to be taking you through them live, and I'm going to have the live Q&A every Friday. And so I want it to be a group of people where I can have personal contact, personal relationships, answer questions. So we want to kind of find the middle road between making it very accessible and democratizing it. Again, it's not $10,000, not $20,000. Like I just paid $10,000. It's not that unaffordable for most people, but it's also not free. And the reason being, if it's free, people don't pay attention. They take it for granted. And also there'll be too many people for me to deal with, whereas I can deal with people on Wealth Going Global. And our intention is to take 100 people on a journey and over the 6 weeks to make sure that they're part of the top 1%. That's our intention in terms of where we're going. So a couple of questions I get asked all the time. Is this South African focused? No, not at all. I have a South African accent, but our head office is out of England. Our regulation is out of England and Europe. We invest in England, Europe, America, Australia, and it's very much focused on first world assets and first world income. I'm not sure if I qualify. I do have investments, but I'm not sophisticated. What should I do? You don't need to be. This has been set up. One of the things that I get told, and again, I don't want to be arrogant, but I get told this, is I can take complicated things and make them simple. So this is for people that want to be part of the top 1%, that want their wealth to go global. And just like when you learn to walk, there's only one way to learn to walk. It's to get going. It's to get to do it. So if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, a professional, then you're in the perfectly right place. And we want to help you, help your wealth go global. And we want to help you make your money work for you. I'm really busy and time poor. How much time will this require? So again, our single biggest client are business owners, entrepreneurs, and busy professionals. The thing they've got least is time. And so I've very consciously tried to keep these short, impactful, and to get you maximum results with minimum amount of time. The time requirement for 6 weeks is no more than 2 hours a week. What happens if I miss a session? They record it. So like Anina said, she missed a couple of sessions. She catch up on the recordings. So there's always the ability to, if you miss a session, to watch the recording and to catch up. and then join the live Q&A if you want and ask questions. How can I use Wealth Going Global, and is this part of the mastermind? No, it's not part of the mastermind, but it's an amazing foundation to build upon. So if you've got the right information, the right knowledge, the right partners, better still, if you come to the Wealth Weekend, then you really are prepped. And then the mastermind is all about execution with the family office and holding your hand and doing it for you. Why is this planned before the Wealth Weekend? For what I said to you. So successful people get the best results through immersion. That's why, I mean, I've just been on this Investor Summit 9 days. 9 days is a long time for highly successful people, but people immerse themselves. They do it once a year. Most of them have been back. It's been going 23 years. Many of them have been more than 10 times because that 1 week is worth so much to them because they're fully immersed. And so we've done Wealth Going Global, where you can get the right information and the right knowledge, and then you can immerse yourself with the Wealth Weekend with the family office and truly walk away with that trust in the plan to be part of that top 1%er, which is that transformation we want you to go through. I need accountability. Will you hold me accountable? Well, look, obviously there's 100 people coming on this journey, and the intention will be to hold people to account. We've got the Friday sessions, etc. So yes, the answer is yes. I like to, whether it's carrot or stick, I feel very strongly about getting results. But you're also going to have a level of accountability yourself. And if you truly need accountability, then the mastermind is what we've built for that, where we actually have the accountability sessions. What does a voucher mean? Well, until Friday, if you sign up tonight or over the next couple of days, you can take the investment you make in 497 in Wealth Going Global, and you can literally put it towards either the Wealth Weekend or joining the mastermind or something later down the line. It's because we are incentivizing people to take action, and we know that you're going to want to go further. And so we're incentivizing you. We're giving you a voucher to be able to go further because we know the journey you're going on. We want to help you succeed and get results on that journey. Do you have a payment plan? At the moment, we don't. If you do want a payment plan, again, I don't want anyone to miss out. We haven't even thought about the payment plan actually, but if you do want a payment plan, maybe just type in the chat box payment plan, and we can try and see what we can do. It's not something we've planned for. It's not a huge amount of money up front, and we really want people to be fully committed. What about if I've done it before? So I see there's a number of people online that are mastermind members. You might have done it before. I'm not saying you need to do it again, particularly if you're part of the mastermind. Obviously, it'll be a refreshed one based on all the information that I've learned on the Investor Summit and what I've learned over the last 2 years. But it might be something that is of value to you. Only you'll be able to decide that. Are the wealth hackers included? No. So the wealth hackers have the recording from 2 years ago that they can go and watch. But the live one is new. It's only for people that sign up for the Wealth Going Global now and or the mastermind members. So if you're a mastermind member, you get automatic access to Wealth Going Global, but everyone else needs to pay for it. We're looking to have 100 people come on this journey with me and the team over the next 6 weeks. And then the success resources people, if you did the payday pathway, you're not included. You would need to pay for this to upgrade. And if you did the Wealth Accelerator, then you are included in this. So you've already paid for it and you're included in this process, including the Wealth Weekend. Okay. And I think that is all the questions that I can answer. Jacques asked, can we do it with a friend? So yes, Jacques, you can. Like I said, until Friday, you can do it with a friend. I want to finish off. I'm conscious of everyone's time. It's a challenge for me. I always get into trouble for oversharing. And, I've just come back from that Investor Summit. I've learned some of the most incredible things that I want to share with investors. But ultimately, this is the formula. This is the framework. You need to diversify across countries, currencies, assets, partners, and time. And you need to make sure, let me just stop sharing here, that if you look at the wealthiest people in the world, if you look at the top 1%, they get access to the right partners, they get access to the right deals, they get the right information, and they use diversification. And that is the paid framework. And my wish for all of you is that stop being part of the 99%ers and join the top 1%. And Wealth Going Global is literally your ticket to be able to do that. I finish with a saying, which I love, which is an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Our invitation to you is to join the Wealth Going Global, to come on the journey with us in a strategic, structured way, to set up a plan and to evolve you from the 99% to the top 1%, so that you're part of the new economy, you're planning for the new economy, and you set up wealth on your terms to live the life that you want. Thanks very much for your time. I deeply appreciate it. I look forward to any feedback. If you did enjoy this, you can share it with your friends. This is the first one. It's the pre-launch. We actually have the main launch next Tuesday on the 15th. That's why I'm providing these opportunities for people by Friday, if for people as part of the pre-launch. So if you go to that link, wealthgoingglobal.com/join, you're going to get that voucher as a gift. And you also got a 2-for-1 special as a gift. And so go along and join that. But if you did enjoy this, share it with your friend. I'm going to be doing it again live a couple of times over the next couple of weeks to allow people to come on our journey. And I hope that you understand the transformation that we're talking about, because my wish for all of you is that you join that top 1% and you join me. You join me on that journey. If you haven't done Wealth Going Global, then I truly would not understand why anyone would not join this. Because when you look at where the world is going, when you look at that new economy, and let me read you something here just to finish off. Where's it gone now? Oh, I didn't. I thought I printed it. Yeah, so I think when you look at it, you know, the old economy was one income stream. The new economy is multiple income streams. The old economy was a job for life. The new economy is a life full of jobs. In the old economy, you work for money. That's the old model. In the new economy, your money works for you. In the old world, you kind of saved and hoped. In the new world, you invest and grow. The financial industry was built for the old economy. You need a new strategy for the new economy. And in simple terms, in the old economy, you learned, you invested, and you retired, and you hope that you didn't run out of money. In the new economy, you adapt, you learn, you invest, you're part of a community, you make mistakes, you relearn, but ultimately it's about creating multiple income streams and about creating the life that you want for you and your family. That's my wish for all of you. I hope you've had a wonderful evening. I hope you enjoyed this learning experience. I look forward to your feedback, and I look forward to you coming on the journey with us at Wealth Going Global. Good night and cheers.